Hello, friends. Today we are here to read the next part of the story. Which story? The story of the Rakshasas, and this folktale is taken from the Folktales of Bengal, written by Reverend Lal Bihari Dey. Now let's start. Till now, what we came to know, two brothers were there, Sahasradal and Champadal. Both were stepbrothers. Sahasradal's mother was a Rakshasi or a demon, and Champadal's mother was a normal human woman. Their father was a Brahman. We must say a lazy Brahman, and by virtue of the wealth of the Sahasradal's mother, they were very happy for some time. But when it revealed that Sahasradal's mother was a Rakshasi, then in the meantime and eventually his stepmother and his father was killed by his mother, and eventually he had to kill his own mother to save his stepbrother Champadal. Afterwards, they came to a place very where they fought very bravely against Rakshas who was terrorized the country. And because of that, as in actual case, Sahasradal actually fought with that Rakshasi. You see, he get married with the princess of that land, and he became his husband, and eventually he got his husband. But in the meantime, in the courtyard, in that palace, there was a housemaid. There was a maid who was a disguised Rakshasi. Due to her conspiracy, Champadal was forced out from that palace. And what happened next, that will be revealed by today's episode. So let's start. As Champas Horse was uncommonly fleet, in a few hours he traversed thousands of miles and at last found himself at the gateway of what seemed a magnificent palace. Dismounting from his horse, he entered the house where he did not meet with a single creature. He went from apartment to apartment, but though they were all richly furnished, he did not see a single human being. At last, in one of the side rooms, he found a young lady of heavenly beauty lying down on a splendid bedstead. She was asleep. Champadal looked upon the sleeping beauty with rapture. He had not seen any woman so beautiful. Upon the bed, near the head of the young lady, were two sticks, one of silver and the other of gold. Champa took the silver stick into his hand and touched with it the body of the lady. But no change was perceptible. He then took up the gold stick and laid it upon the lady, when in a trice she woke up, sat in her bed, and eyeing the stranger, inquired who he was. Champadal briefly told his story. The young lady, or rather princess, for she was nothing less, said, "Unhappy man, why have you come here? This is the country of Rakshasas, and in this house and round about there live no less than 700 Rakshasas. They all go away to the other side of the ocean every morning in search of provisions, and they all return every evening before dusk. My father was formerly king in these regions and had millions of subjects who lived in flourishing towns and cities. But some years ago, the invasion of the Rakshasas took place, and they devoured all his subjects, and himself, and my mother, and my brothers and sisters. They devoured also all the cattle of the country. There is no living human being in these regions excepting myself, and I too should long ago have been but devoured had not an old Rakshasi, conceiving strange affection for me, prevented the other Rakshasas from eating me up. You see those sticks of silver and gold? The old Rakshasi, when she goes away in the morning, kills me with the silver stick, and on her return in the evening, reanimates me with the gold stick. I do not know how to advise you. If the Rakshasas see you, you are a dead man. Then they both talked to each other in a very affectionate manner and laid their heads together to devise, if possible, some means of escape from the hands of the Rakshasas. The hour of the return of the 700 raw eaters was fast approaching, and Keshavati, for that was the name of the princess, so called from the abundance of her hair, told Champa to hide himself in the hips of the sacred trefoil which were lying in the temple of Shiva in the central part of the palace. Before Champa went to his palace of concealment, he touched Keshavati with the silver stick, on which she instantly died. Shortly after sunset, Champadal heard from beneath the heaps of the sacred trefoil the sound as of a mighty rushing wind. Presently, he heard terrible noises in the palace. The Rakshasas had come home from cruising after having filled their stomachs, each one with sundry goats, sheep, cows, horses, buffaloes, and elephants. The old Rakshasi of whom we have already spoken came to Keshavati's room, roused her by touching her body with the gold stick, and said, "Hi, Mike, hi! A human being, I smell." On which Keshavati said, "I am the only human being here. Eat me if you like." To which the raw eater replied, "Let me eat up your enemies. Why should I eat you?" She laid herself down on the ground as long and as high as the Vindhya hills, and presently fell asleep. The other Rakshasas and Rakshasis also soon fell asleep, being all tired out on account of their gigantic labors in the day. Keshavati also composed herself to sleep, while Champa, not daring to come out of the heaps of leaves, tried his best to court the god of repose. At daybreak, all the raw eaters, 700 in number, got up and went as usual to their hunting and predatory excursions, and along with them went the old Rakshasi after touching Keshavati with the silver stick. When Champadal saw that the coast was clear, he came out of the temple, walked into Keshavati's room, and touched her with the gold stick, on which she woke up. They sauntered about in the gardens, enjoying the cool breeze of the morning. They bathed in a lucid tank which was in the grounds. They ate and drank and spent the day in sweet converse. They concocted a plan for their deliverance. They settled that Keshavati should ask the old Rakshasi on what the life of a Rakshas depend, and when the secret should be made known, they would adopt measures accordingly. As on the preceding evening, Champa, after touching his fair friend with the silver stick took refuge in the temple beneath the heaps of the sacred trefoil. At dusk, the Rakshasas, as usual, came home, and the old Rakshasi, rousing her pet, said, "Hi, my Khai, hi, my Khai, a human being I smell." Keshavati answered, "What other human being is here excepting myself? Eat me up, if you like." "Why should I eat you, my darling? Let me eat up all your enemies." Then she laid down on the ground, her huge body, which looked like a part of the Himalaya mountains. Keshavati, with a phial of heated mustard oil, went towards the feet of the Rakshasi and said, "Mother, your feet are sore with walking. Let me rub them with oil." So saying, she began to rub with oil the Rakshasi's feet, and while she was in the act of doing so, a few teardrops from her eyes fell on the monster's leg. The Rakshasi smacked the teardrop with her lips, and finding the taste briny, said, "Why are you weeping, darling? What aileth thee?" To which the princess replied, "Mother, I am weeping because you are old, and when you die, I shall certainly be devoured by one of the Rakshasas." "When I die?" "No, foolish girl, that we Rakshasas never die. We are not naturally immortal, but our life depends on a secret which no human being can unravel. Unravel. Let me tell you what it is that you may be comforted. You know yonder tank. Sorry, you know yonder tank. There is in the middle of it a spatik stambha. What is spatik stambha? I must elaborate here. Spatik means crystal, and stambha means pillar. So, let's read it again. Let me tell you what it is with you may be comforted. Let me tell you what it is that you may be comforted. You know yonder tank, there is in the middle of it a Spatik Stambha, on the top of which in deep waters are two bees. If any human being can dive into the waters and bring up to land the two bees from the pillar in one breath and destroy them so that not a drop of their blood falls to the ground, then we Rakshasas shall certainly die. But if a single drop of blood falls to the ground, then from it will start up 1,000 Rakshasas. But what human being will find out this secret, or finding it will be able to achieve the feat? You need not, therefore, darling, be sad. I am practically immortal. Keshavati treasured up the secret in her memory and went to sleep. Early next morning, the Rakshasas, as usual, went away. Champa came out of his hiding place, roused Keshavati, and fell a talking. The princess told him the secret she had learned from the Rakshasi. Champa immediately made preparations for accomplishing the mighty deed. He brought to the side of the tank a knife and a quantity of ashes. He disrobed himself, put a drop or two of mustard oil into each of his ears to prevent water from entering in, and dived into the waters. In a moment he got to the top of the crystal pillar in the middle of the tank, caught hold of the two bees he found there, and came up in one breath. Taking the knife, he cut up the bees over the ashes. A drop or two of the blood fell, not on the ground, but on the ashes. When Champa caught hold of the bees, a terrible scream was heard at a distance. This was the wailing of the Rakshasas, who were all running home to prevent the bees from being killed. But before they could reach the palace, the bees had perished. The moment the bees were killed, all the Rakshasas died, and their carcasses fell on the very spot on which they were standing. Champa and the princess afterwards found that the gateway of the palace was blocked up by the huge carcasses of the Rakshasas, some of them having nearly succeeded in getting to the palace. In this manner was effected the destruction of the 700 Rakshasas. So, my dear friend, today I am stopping here. Tomorrow we will continue this story, and then we will try to unravel what happened next to the life of Champadal and this princess, and also we will try to find out what happened to Sahasradal also, right? So till then, take care of yourself, be happy, be merry, and so tada.